If animals could talk, it would save us humans a lot of trouble. After all, many of them have a real gift of foresight. There are many amazing stories about how animals were able to prevent terrible disasters. However, unfortunately, there are many cases when people could not recognize their pets' distress signals and simply ignored what their four-legged friends tried so hard to tell them. What a pity that we have not learned to fully trust our pets. Perhaps many mistakes in life could have been avoided. Our story today took place in the distant icy expanse of Svalbard, which is located halfway between the North Pole and Norway. The climate there is extremely harsh, and only strong-willed people are able to adapt to the difficult living conditions. The main source of income there is work in the mines. They pay very well, so many Eastern Europeans go there on a contract basis, spending long months at this hard and dangerous work. You can only get there by snowmobile, as there are impenetrable snows all around and no other transport can overcome the difficult terrain. The locals there are adept at driving snowmobiles, and it's not hard for them to get to work. The hero of our story signed a 1-year contract to work at the mine, and now he was racing his snowmobile to work. There was not a soul around for miles. The bright sun reflected on the mountains of ice and snowy hills. The man was driving quite fast and enjoyed looking at his surroundings. Then his eyes fell on a small, moving figure. Slowing down, the man peered into the distance, trying to see who was hiding in the snow. Driving closer, he saw a small white bear cub, which, frightened by the sound of the engine, was trying to escape. The man began to look around with caution because there should have been a mother bear nearby, but there was not a single living soul in sight. The miner felt sorry for the cub because leaving him there meant dooming him to certain death. He turned off the engine, slowly got off the snowmobile, and walked over to the freezing bear cub. The cub no longer had the strength to run, and now he sat helplessly and looked the man straight in the eye. The man carefully picked him up and held him close. Together they reached the village and went into his warm house. He fed the little cub with condensed milk and bread, and then, having eaten his fill, it sweetly fell asleep near the stove. The man thought that the bear cub would want to leave after it woke up, but it decided to stay by its savior's side. The bear quickly became popular among the other workers. They didn't have much entertainment there, so watching the bear was a real treat. After work, men would come to visit, bringing various treats, and would play with him for a long time. But he was truly devoted to only one person, the one who saved him from hunger and cold. One fateful morning, the man was getting ready to go to work, but the polar bear did not behave as usual. He jumped to his master's feet, biting at his trousers and attempting to prevent him from leaving the house. The man assumed that he just wanted more attention, so he stayed a while longer to pet the bear. But the bear did not let him leave, staring into his eyes as if trying to communicate something. But the man was already late to work, so he promised to spend more time with him later and left the house. He was unable to keep that promise. That day at the mine, it collapsed and the miner was trapped inside. During this time, the bear cub whined and growled in his room, and then rushed out as if sensing that his master needed his help. He ran as fast as he could to the mine, and no one saw the little white bear cub ever again. All the men in the village grieved the loss of their friend and colleague. Only after some time did they remember the bear cub, which disappeared on the day of the death of its owner and never returned to the village. Several years have passed since then. The story of the polar bear cub and its owner was passed between the workers. They often remembered those happy times. Once, going out into the street, they saw a huge polar bear on the horizon. He stood in the distance and looked at the men. Some suggested that it was the same bear who was sheltered by their deceased colleague, or maybe it was a completely different polar bear. However, the essence of this story remains the same. Sometimes we should listen to the intuition of our pets. If they are behaving strangely, they may be trying to tell us something very important. Stop for a moment and try to understand exactly what they want from you. Have you ever had a similar story of when your pets warned you of possible danger? Please share with us in the comments.